Peterbot keeps beating everyone to loot. No matter who he's up against, he always seems to win the chest fight. And if you've watched enough pro Fortnite, you already know how important those 50-50 chest fights are, because whoever gets the first weapon usually wins the fight instantly. And for some reason, Peterbot always comes out on top way more than anyone else, and people are starting to wonder what exactly makes him so consistently fast and precise when it comes to looting. Like this, it's not like he's just lucky, because this has been happening over and over across countless tournaments and arena games, so clearly something is going on. And when you watch the clips back in slow motion, it's actually wild how fast he reacts. It's like the weapon teleports into his inventory before the other player even realizes what happened, and people online have tried to break it down frame by frame to figure out his secret. Some have blamed macros, which is kind of funny, because macros are these third-party programs that automatically spam whatever key you want, like a pickup key, for example. But macros are obviously banned under Fortnite's competitive rules, so that theory doesn't hold much weight. Others say maybe it's the auto-pickup weapon setting, but anyone who's actually tried that setting knows it only works if you're standing perfectly on top of the loot, and that rarely ever happens in those early chest fights. So if it's not macros, and it's not auto-pickup, then that really only leaves one realistic possibility, and that's scroll wheel pickup, which is when a player binds their pickup key to the scroll wheel so they can flick it rapidly and pick up multiple items instantly, and that method has been a pro standard for years now, literally since the start of Fortnite, because it's so efficient. But here's the confusing part. If all the pros are already using scroll wheel pickup, then why is Peterbot still able to beat them to the loot even in situations where they both land at the same time, and even when they have similar ping, and you start thinking, maybe it's just the ping difference, because Peterbot is known for having incredibly low ping, but even that doesn't fully explain it, since other pros with equally low ping can't match his consistency, and at LAN tournaments where ping basically doesn't exist, he still wins those chess fights almost every single time, so it's clearly not just a connection thing, and that's when you start noticing something about how he holds his mouse, because Peterbot uses a very unique grip called the 1-3-1 grip, and most players, including top pros, use what's called the 1-2-2 grip, where the index finger is on left click, the middle finger is on right click, and the ring and pinky just rest on the side. But Peterbot does something completely different. He puts his index finger on left click, his middle finger directly on the scroll wheel, and his ring finger on right click, leaving his pinky on the side. And while that might sound like a small difference, it actually changes everything, especially in games like Fortnite, where scrolling quickly and accurately can mean the difference between winning and losing a fight. Because think about it. Most players have to move their index finger from left click to the scroll wheel every time they want to scroll. But for Peterbot, his finger is already hovering over it at all times, meaning that the moment he lands, he can instantly flick the wheel without any delay. And when you compare that to a traditional grip, it's like cutting out an entire step in the process. And in competitive gaming, every millisecond matters, especially in those 50-50 chest fights, where the winner is often decided in less than half a second. So Peterbot's grip basically gives him a mechanical advantage that other players simply don't have. And what's even more interesting is that he's been using this grip for years long before anyone started noticing how overpowered it might actually be, which kind of shows how much muscle memory and precision he's developed with it over time. And if you look at how his hand moves during gameplay, it's incredibly stable and efficient. There's almost no wasted movement. Every click and every scroll looks intentional and clean, and that efficiency compounds over time. It's not just about looting faster, it also means his building edits and weapon swaps are more fluid, since he can use that same grip to scroll reset faster and maintain control during intense fights. And while most players might struggle to adapt to a grip like that because it feels unnatural, at first, Peterbot clearly mastered it, and now it's giving him this subtle but significant edge in every match. And what's really crazy is that it's not just a placebo effect, there's actual logic behind it. Because when your finger is already positioned over the scroll wheel, your brain doesn't need to send another signal to move that finger first before activating it. meaning the reaction chain is shorter, so you're literally reducing input delay from your own physical reaction. Time, not just your internet ping, and that combined with low latency hardware, a solid mouse sensor, and near-perfect timing, basically makes Peterbot a looting machine, and that's why even in fair conditions, he still wins those weapon races. It's like the perfect combination of technique, precision, and experience. And sure, you can argue that a lot of pros could switch to that grip too, but the thing is, not everyone can use it comfortably. Some players rely heavily on their middle finger for aim stability or edit consistency, so changing their grip could actually throw off their entire mechanical flow, but for Peterbot, it just fits his playstyle perfectly. He's always been known for fast mechanics, confident aim, and clean edits, and when you think about it, it all ties together. It's not just about picking up loot, it's about how every little micro advantage stacks up to create momentum. And once you start winning those early fights consistently, your confidence skyrockets, which only makes you play even better. And that's something people often overlook. Confidence and rhythm matter just as much as mechanics in Fortnite, because once you establish control early in the game, everything else flows naturally. So when Peterbot lands, he's not hesitating, he's not second-guessing where the loot is. He just knows his muscle memory will handle it, and that kind of subconscious trust in your mechanics is something only the very best players ever reach. So yeah, while everyone else is wondering if he's using macros, or if he's just lucky, the truth is probably way simpler. It's years of practice combined with a grip that gives him a fraction of a second advantage that turns into domination. And it's actually pretty inspiring when you think about it, because it shows how much small details can separate the good players from the great ones. Even something as tiny as finger placement can change the outcome of a fight, and for players watching who want to improve, maybe that's something to experiment with, because the 131 grip isn't just useful for looting. It can improve your scroll edits and weapon cycling too, though it definitely takes time to get used to. So if you try it, don't expect instant results, but if you stick with it and build that muscle memory, it could genuinely make you faster over time. And that's the kind of thing that defines high-level play. Small optimizations that most people would never even think about, but once mastered, they make all the difference. So in the end, Peterbot's success probably isn't magic or luck or some secret cheat. It's a perfect storm of technique, low-ping confidence, and a mouse grip that gives him a real tangible advantage in a game where milliseconds decide everything. So yeah, when it comes down to those chest fights, those tiny fractions of a second are what separate champions from everyone else. And Peterbot seems to have mastered that perfectly, so maybe the next time you lose a 50-50 off spawn instead of blaming ping or RNG, it might just be worth looking at how you're actually holding your mouse, because who knows? Maybe the secret to looting faster has been in your hand this whole time, and that's what makes Peterbot so fascinating. He's proof that even in a game as chaotic as Fortnite, precision and discipline still matter, and that every movement, no matter how small, can be optimized for victory. And at this point, it's safe to say that Peterbot's grip, combined with his years of experience, has become one of the most iconic mechanical edges in the entire competitive scene. And honestly, it's hard to deny that when you see him winning fight after fight, no matter the circumstance, it's not just skill, it's mastery, pure and simple.